I'm with Mahfuz Anam, the editor of the Daily Star, Bangladesh's largest English language newspaper and perhaps its most powerful and hugely impactful. Mr. Anam has been editor of the Daily Star for several years. He was also a Mukti Jodha. And what that means is that as a young man, as a young Bangladeshi, he saw the creation of Bangladesh in 1971. And today he is and has been the editor of the Daily Star for some years. And we are talking, of course, on the eve of the Bangladesh elections, just a few more hours to go before Bangladeshis go to the polls. Whether they're going to re-elect Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina or not is the big question. Mr. Anam, welcome to Avaz South Asia, and thank you so much for your time. I know that this is a big, lots of work ahead for you, but welcome.
Thank you.
So by the
Delighted to
time
be with you.
Thank you. So by the time this appears on air or online, it will be morning because it's already late in the evening on the 6th of January. On the 7th, a few hours from now, Mr. Anam, Bangladesh goes to the elections. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is attempting her fifth straight win. What is your view on what the situation in Bangladesh is like right now?
Yeah, her fifth win, but fourth straight win.
Yeah,
Okay, just
that's
to
right.
be.
Yeah. Thank you for the
I mean,
correction.
yeah, but actually, in terms of the election this time, it's really all in a way eminently predictable. Not even predictable. It is a done deal. She is going to get the votes to be the next prime minister. There is really no contestant. There is really no prime ministerial candidate on the other side. So it's given.
Mhm.
The fact, what we can notice tomorrow is that how many seats will she get in the parliament, and even that question is will she get more than 200 or slightly less than 300, slightly less than 200. So a, she's getting re-elected as the prime minister. B, she'll come to the parliament with a very strong majority. It can be almost close to 3/4 or something like that. So, in a sense, it is one of those elections whose outcome is eminently predictable.
So what's wrong with that, Mr. Anam? What's wrong with Sheikh Hasina winning again, getting a three-fourth parliamentary majority? She is a strong leader. She's been able to lift Bangladesh out of poverty in the last 15 years that she's been prime minister.
No, she deserves a lot of credit for what has happened to Bangladesh. She's determined, she's visionary, she's courageous, she's bold. I mean, you can give her a lot of accolades on that account. But election, if it is to be termed as a process of choice,
Mhm.
it is if it is to be considered as a phenomena with which through which people express their verdict.
Mhm.
This is not such an action, and I don't blame Sheikh Hasina for it all herself, but I also blame the opposition. They boycotted the election, which basically laid the whole plane open for her. BNP is the second biggest party. They could have fielded a very powerful election, but they opted not to, on the ground that they don't believe that under Sheikh Hasina's government, they can expect a free and fair election. That argument has a lot of validity behind it, but on the other hand, not participating in the election is basically, I would say, committing, in my terms, suicide.
Mhm.
Because if you are not there in the election, then obviously Awami League will have absolutely a walkover sort of a thing, and that's exactly what's happening.
So what's wrong with that?
Well, what is wrong with that is that, because I would say that the mistake of the opposition, people really have no choice. I mean, she has been in power for 15 years.
Mhm.
Honestly speaking, there has not been any debate. People are going for voting tomorrow practically with no choice. Now, we do have in this instance many constituencies a rival candidate. Okay, so you have Mr. A, who is a nominee of Awami League, and then you have Mr. B, who is contesting the nominee, but he's also from Awami League. you
Hmm.
know. So Sheikh Hasina has allowed rebel candidates to participate. Normally, if a party nominee or a party candidate doesn't accept the party nomination, he or she is either expelled from the
Felt.
party or
Right.
something. In this case, she has allowed it. So
Mhm.
the virtue of that is that in many constituencies, Awami League A and Awami League B will have a very lively contestation. So in terms of the person, you can have a choice, but in terms of policies, in terms of what future to expect, it will be the same.
So that's not really her fault. I mean, why would anybody lay the blame at her door? She hasn't told the BNP to boycott the election. She hasn't said to the Jatiya Party that you should split. I mean, listen, if she's a strong and powerful leader, she will obviously want to keep power. So what's wrong with what
Yes.
she's been trying to do?
On the face of it, you can say what's wrong with it, but on the fact on the ground is a lot of things are wrong about it. First of all, um, Sheikh Hasina has used the state machinery, the totality of the state machinery to go in her favor. Now, you can say, what's wrong with that? She's the government, so she uses the police, she uses the intelligence, she uses the bureaucracy. Well, I think everything is wrong with that. In a parliamentary form of government, people are supposed to have a choice. But
Absolutely.
here, no, and listen, I think I fundamentally lay the blame on BNP for boycotting, but it is definitely true that she didn't allow the free play of an opposition party that is expected in a democracy. Now, even after BNP declared that they were going to boycott the election, there has been thousands of arrests of BNP leaders. Uh, Very rapid cases, and in which literally thousands of BNP leaders have been given sentences. I mean, in a sense, from my perspective, I don't think Hasina needed to do that because BNP was not participating in the election in the first place. But yet, the oppression didn't stop. I mean, there is no way that the government can justify the way BNP's leaders have been arrested and jailed. I mean, take one instance.
Mhm.
BNP's General Secretary Mirza Fakhrul Alamgir,
Yes.
Fakhrul
Yeah, Islam
uh,
Alamgir. Yes. Yes.
Fakhrul Islam Alamgir, he's the Secretary General of the party.
Yes.
And then there's another person called Mr. Shah Jahan, who is
Mhm.
the Vice President of BNP. Both of them are in the jail.
Mhm.
Now, Alamgir is refused bail for many times, and he's in the jail for all these from 28th of November. Uh, I'm sorry, yeah, 28th of November till now he's in jail. But this
Mhm.
gentleman who is the vice president, he was in jail with him. He gets the bail at noon, and he gets Awami League's nomination in the evening.
I see. That's quite
You
a,
can say, what's wrong with that?
no, that's quite interesting,
That's
isn't it?
politics for you. That's
Absolutely.
politics for you. So
Yes.
it's a very clear case of the judiciary being a part of it, police being a part of it, where BNP's high ups were pressurized to switch and come to the ruling party. Most people didn't do, but this gentleman did. But it shows, it dramatizes the selective use of the law.
So it seems to me that, the way you're sort of describing this situation is that Sheikh Hasina and her party, the Awami League, have hijacked all these sort of institutions, or at least some of them, whether it's the police, it's the judiciary.
Yeah, the point is to, I mean, to get the bigger picture. In my view, Sheikh Hasina in the last 15 years has done a lot for the country. In her last 5 years, mega projects have been implemented much faster. I think at the end of it, if you don't have that confidence yourself, that if you have a free and fair election, people are going to vote for me, then you go on the next step of actually contriving the whole process. So, in my view, Sheikh Hasina didn't have done it, but she did it.
Right. The West seems to be gunning for her. They've been calling her all kinds of names. autocrat, repressive democracy, or maybe not a democracy at all. Would you agree with that?
I think there's a lot to be criticized for in Bangladesh. Take for example the use of the Digital Security Act is called DSA. I mean, it was meant to prevent cyber crime, but it was extensively used against journalists. It was used against people making a Facebook post. It was used against people liking a negative Facebook post. Now, can you imagine that you just liked it? And within hours police go and pick you up. So the environment was absolutely not democratic. And if you look at in the last several years and the Daily Star's editorial, my own articles, we have complained against it and all that. So we really didn't go up to the election in an environment in which the voters really go with choices. Okay. It was a BNP, on the other hand, was on this absolute, I would say, self-suicidal mission of boycotting election, and Awami League, on the other hand, was on a mission to make dissent, basically repress dissent, repress any sort of serious criticism of the government. So, in a way, it's an election. I would say it's an election without a soul. It has the body, has the the other rituals about it, but the ethos of election, in which the what is this called, the public will is expressed. People with total freedom, with no mind of any repercussion, go to vote. That is not happening.
So the public will is missing.
I would say fundamentally so.
But what is she afraid of, Mahfuz? At the end of the day, she is the daughter of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. She was witness to the liberation of the country, as were you and several hundreds and thousands of your countrymen. What is Hasina afraid of today?
Well, I cannot go into inside her mind to respond to that. But she has also been betrayed a lot. The brutal killing of her family is truly a tragedy of unimaginable proportions.
Right.
And then as she led the Awami League over the years, there has been, I would say, I mean, she didn't really develop a whole infrastructure of confidence. And I think a very crucial thing happened in 2004 when Khaleda Zia was in power. A very serious attempt was made to kill Sheikh Hasina. An assassination attempt was made, and she really escaped miraculously. Now, suppose, I mean, I as an observer, I don't know the inner facts. As an editor, I observed how any serious investigation of that incident in which she almost died, and 24 other Awami League leaders, including the head of the women's wing of Awami League, got killed. 24 citizens got killed. The leader of the opposition almost saved herself, survived miraculously, and yet the government of the day totally subverted, in my view, the investigation process. What was held as an investigation?
Khaleda Zia's government.
Khaleda Zia's government. She was the prime minister, and investigation was made a farce of. So I think in Sheikh Hasina's mind, it played that, look, if I'm out of power, then I run the risk of being assassinated. And her narrative is that her husband was involved in the killing of her whole family. Now she and her son is involved in trying to killing me. So therefore, my politics will be one of revenge, one of a retaliation in a form and content that BNP doesn't survive. And so, again, it is my view that when she got re-elected in 2008, within a few years, she amended the constitution and did away with the system of caretaker government, which previous 4 elections always produced a result in which the incumbent lost and the opposition came to power. So
Right.
that process, in every election, the opposition won. So Hasina abolished that.
But why is the West gunning for her, Mahfuz, would you say?
I really cannot tell you an answer as to why, but I think, you see, with the rise of tension between the US and China, and Sheikh Hasina becoming quite close to China, which is interesting because, during her time, Bangladesh-India relationship is at its height,
Right.
and also Bangladesh China relationship has progressed a lot. But India's somehow sort of accepted it, in my view, maybe with a lot of concern, but they accepted this reality. But I think, with the rise of confrontation between China and the US, I think the US tried to take Bangladesh as a frontline country and impose their will, because we have gone too close to China.
So that's why they're gunning for her and calling her names, and whether it's a repressive democracy. I mean, even the UN special rapporteur in your own newspaper, in the Daily Star, has now said that these are repressive freedoms. I mean, those are strong words, right?
But much of it deserved.
Mhm.
Much of these strong words are deserved. So that fact is true. But on the other hand, the motive, in my view, is more geopolitical rather than the West's love for democracy.
So the West is using this, in a sense, as a lever to to scare her. To what do they want to do? Certainly, they don't want her to lose power, because the opposition could be worse, right?
Yes, I think their attempt is to wean her a little away from China.
Okay, but let me ask you, what about the people? Do the people feel she's autocratic as well and has repressed democracy?
Well, if I may repeat my own newspaper's editorial, I think there's enough reason to term her administration quite repressive.
But
Abuse of the law, abuse of the law, use of, first of all, passing laws in the parliament and then using those laws to absolutely throttle dissent.
but these laws that she has used to throttle dissent, would you say, Mahfouz, that? So my question to you is, what is the alternative? Is there one?
Alternative is a more democratic, Hasina. you know
But
so she has, in many ways, I would say, she has the support of the people. She has done a lot of good, but somehow her method of governance leaves much to be desired.
but is the alternative the BNP in power? They are boycotting the polls this time, but if all other things considered, they would have
Mm,
taken part. Would they have
let's
won?
say, in my view, BNP has a lot to do to earn public confidence. But in the Bengali psyche is anti-incumbent, and she has been in continuous power for 15 years. It is first time in history of Bangladesh.
Mhm.
And so after 15 years now, she's going from 50 to 20. The Bengali psyche being anti-incumbent. So, but on the other side, she has done a lot of work. There's no question about it. So it's a bit of a mystery to me, that having done so much for our development, why should she feel not confident enough to hold a free and fair election?
But she is Bangabandhu's daughter. Are the people willing to forgive her her trespasses, if you like, because she is Bangabandhu's daughter?
I mean, all of this is true, but the reality of life, is also another side of the picture. I mean, Bangabandhu is highly respected, regarded. He is the father of the nation, no question about it. But when you run a country, it's day-to-day administration. The whole issue of corruption in Bangladesh has really reached unbelievable proportion, and the way that the administration has looked the other way is really not expected from a government of Bangabandhu's daughter. I mean, there are scams in Bangladesh, banking scams, corruption in project implementation, truly unimaginable. And why Sheikh Hasina has not been tough against them is a question I have repeatedly asked myself.
But what is the alternative, Mahfuz? I keep asking you that. Is it a BNP Jamaat government? After all, the Jamaat you know
No,
and
no, if you
have been
put it
critical.
like this, listen, if you put it like this, is it BNP and Jamaat, then obviously all sorts of memories of 71 comes up, and the reactions are different. But I mean, what is the alternative? So we are not going to look at alternative, but always go in for these imageries. I think alternative is that people be allowed to express their view. I mean, even a vote which would have given her majority, but still given her a message otherwise. I mean, that's how democracies function. The most famous of governments sometimes, receive a jolt from the public opinion. I don't think Hasina would have been defeated, but I think she would have definitely got a message from the voters that look here, there's some things that she has done maybe not so well accepted, but not see at the moment, Jyoti, we are having elections in 300 seats.
Right.
The candidates are Awami League. The candidates are Awami League rebels approved by Sheikh Hasina. The candidates are Jatiyo Party
Mm.
whose seats have been allocated by Sheikh Hasina. Jatiyo Party doesn't have the, I mean, I don't blame Hasina for it. Jatiyo Party doesn't seem to have the self-confidence to really, go for an all-out election. They have negotiated with the ruling party for 26 seats,
Mm.
and which Sheikh Hasina has given them. So Awami League candidates, Awami League rebel candidates, then you have Jati Party candidates whose seat the ruling party has approved, 26, and then you have other riffraffs here and there who have been given one seat here, two seat here, and so the parliament that you will have is actually an approved by Sheikh Hasina. Now you can say, what's wrong with that? If she's the most popular, she's the most powerful. Yes, she is the most, I mean, at least the most powerful person. And the whole seat distribution has been with her consent.
So tell me, why do you think that Prime Minister Modi and the government in India seems to be supporting Prime Minister Hasina? Of course, the government of India hasn't said anything publicly. They keep saying it's an internal matter of Bangladesh, but there is a very strong belief that that Modi is supporting Hasina.
Well, I think Hasina has been a very dependable ally. Hasina has been, true to her words. She has run the country with an iron hand, and so why shouldn't India look for alternatives?
But do you feel that Hasina has forgiven Prime Minister Modi and Amit Shah, now Home Minister, for the comments he made some years ago? If you remember, he said Bangladeshi infiltrators are like dimak or termites.
Yes,
Do you think?
yes, yes. No, I think they were very impolitic comments, and obviously, not only her, it hurt the Bangladeshis a lot,
Yeah.
and also the various other laws that are in the process will have its repercussion. But also, I mean, for example, I as an editor of Daily Star, I believe very strongly that a good relationship with India and Bangladesh is good for both India and Bangladesh. If we may have a lot of problems, and we do, they'll have to be settled with dialogue, not with enmity.
So the last question to you, Mahfuz, it seems like a done deal, like you've said. Going forward after the 7th of January, it's not as if everybody is going to go home and live happily ever after. It seems that the tension will remain. Would you agree with that?
Yes, yes, because this will be the third time where voters will have felt that their right to express their views through free and fair election has been taken away from them. We have had the example of 2014, where 153 MPs were elected, meaning majority in the parliament were elected without a single vote cast, meaning that in 153 seats, Awami League returned uncontested.
Mhm.
Okay. Then in the 2018 election, the popular feeling is that the election was stolen. The voting had taken place the night before. Now, there has been no evidence for it, but it is the public perception. And now in 2023, again, we come to an election in which if the table is set, who is going to sit where, everything is set. This is really not the type of election that Bengalis want. The tension is there. It will be a folly to say no, but at least I would say that this government is far better placed than others to handle it. But here I would like to add that what is happening in India, vis-a-vis the Muslims, in the long run, that will also not be very healthy for the subcontinent. I, as a senior journalist, and I, as a firm believer in South Asia, firm believer in the collective future of all our nations, I believe that we need to really introspect seriously on the repercussions of some of the policies that we are seeing being followed.
Mahfuz Anam, thank you so much for your time and for speaking to me on Awaaz South Asia. Thank you so much.